my name is Anthony Billson. I am the president at Memorial Middle School.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Martinez, the vice president at Memorial Middle School. Today we're going to be reading Grace Goes to Washington by Kelly DiPucchio.
One Friday afternoon in April, Miss Barrington showed a large diagram of the three branches of the U.S. government. But Grace Compel could not stop daydreaming about the upcoming field trip to Washington, D.C. Grace, do you know who's in charge here? Miss Barrington asked. Who's in charge here? Grace repeated. Principal Perez. A few of her classmates giggled.
Well said, Miss Barrington. I suppose you could say Principal Perez is like the executive branch here at Wilson Elementary because she is the head of our school. But right now, we're talking about the U.S. government. Sorry, Grace answered. The president, he or she, led the executive branch. That's correct. Miss Barrington smiled. The president.
The last bell of the day rang. We'll discuss more with this next week, she announced. Student council members, Grace and Sam, don't forget you have a meeting after school.
At the meeting, classroom representative was discussing their ideas on how to spend the money raising from their holiday bake sale.
Thomas and his committee petitioned for new sports equipment. Grace and her committee thought new books for the library was the way to go. Principal Perez even offered her own suggestion. The music room could sure use some new instruments. Mr. Marcel, the media center teacher, listened carefully to all their arguments and took notes.
They're all good ideas, Grace. Later, admitted to Sam, there is no way we'll agree before the vote next week. You know what I was thinking during the meeting? Sam asked. No, what?
If Principal Perez is like the executive branch, I think the student council is kind of like the legislative branch, because we were elected leaders from each class and we help make decisions for the school. Grace considered Sam's comparison. Yeah, who knew so many people had a say in how to spend cookie money, she grumbled.
The following day, Grace could hardly continue her excitement. It was finally field trip day. As the bus drove down Pennsylvania Avenue, cherry blossoms bloomed the streets like ping pongs.
Grace and her classmates visit the Lincoln Memorial, the U.S. Capitol where the legislative branch meets,
and the Supreme Court building. That's where you'll find the judge branch and Supreme Court judge. Sam pointed out there discuss if our rules and laws are fair, kind of like Mr. Marshall does at our student council meeting, Grace added.
During a tour of the White House, home of the executive branch, Grace dreamed of becoming president felt more real.
The final stop of the day was at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial.
Grace studied the words engraved on the monument and thought about their meaning. Make a career of humanity. Commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal rights. You will make a greater person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in.
At recess the next day, arguments about what to purchase for the school ground. More hate. Look at the crummy basketball. Claire complained. At least you have a basketball. Fletch grinned. There are 2 new books in the Ninja Wizard series, but our library doesn't have either one.
Hannah laughed the loudest for new instruments. Well, I for one am sick and tired of playing the recorder in music class. Principal Perez is right.
Grace glanced at Thomas, who was usually quiet. She looked past him to see who he was staring at. Grace didn't realize the boy sitting all alone. He must be new, she thought. He looked kind of sad. Just then the bell rang and students scattered.
Wait, Grace called out to the boy. You forgot something. Grace handed him his sketchbook. I like your drawing, she said. Thanks, he said, the boy with a smile. Grace caught up to Thomas in the hallway. I have an idea, she said.
A few days later, the student council last meeting of the year was beginning to call to order. Excuse me, Grace interrupted before we vote. Thomas and I would like to introduce you to someone.
This is Amen. He's new to our school. We'd like all of you to consider one more opinion for how to spend the bake sale money. They rolled out a big poster.
We're calling it the Friendship Mall, Thomas said proudly. Eamon helped us decide it. It's a plan where you can go to recess to let other students know when you need a friend, Eamon explained.
Next, Thomas spoke about their field trip to Washington, D.C., and Grace read a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. A finer, kinder world starts with us and the choices we make. She concluded, thank you for listening.
Everyone clapped. Principal Perez wiped away a few tears. Mr. Marshall pounded his gavel. It's time to vote.
After the ballots were collected from each classroom representative and the votes were tallied, Student Council President Grace Campbell peeked at the results and grinned. It's an anonymous decision, she announced excitedly. All members are in favor of
The Friendship Mall!
The room filled with happy cheers. Principal Perez took a seat and then, much like the president, signed a bill into law. She approved the election results, making the decision official. Today you put your own wants and needs aside in order to serve others, she said, beaming. That is true leadership.
This is time, everyone agreed.
The end.